Big cat, how you came to be is no longer a mystery. Black sheep is your birthright. It's code for the one who brings the light. I bet if there's a crack, you don't fall back. Remember who you are. No rest for the wicked with their skullduggery. The use spell workers' projection to send out envy, hate, and jealousy. You are the prototype, your ancestors champion. They shield you and send back those spiritual attacks. You are divinely protected from the dummy bats. Yeah. Big cat, the most high, got your back. He sits high and looks low, so don't get smoked or smoke yourself. Big cat, move in silence. Only time you speak is to say checkmate.
Namaste! Grand Rising, Big Cat. Welcome or welcome back to Frequency Phoenix 555 for your message or massages. Come in! Come on! I've got intel. Recon is afoot. May your comings and goings be forever covered by the grace of the Most High. When in doubt, go within. Namaste, bestie. Are you fabulous, gorgeous, and lovely? Let's dive right in and unpack. We have the energy of a 3, darling dears. I love it. I don't hate it. The energy of the 3, darling dears, according to the low shoe grid. The energy of the 3 is about your health. It's about your family. It's also about something going on in your community. It's representative of the springtime, early spring, darling dears. The energy of the 3 is air energy, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, darling dears. It's also easterly direction. Maybe this is where the intel's coming from, darling dears. Or if you follow the low shoe grid, this is the area or space in your life where you need to put something in that corner. I've always supplied you with these things, but you know what? You have to help yourself as well, darling dears. Gather the knowledge. Anyhow, your power colors over the next few days will be the color green, darling dears. Green, what? Money green? Wear it. Wear it well. All right. The energy of the 1, darling dears. It states that you have a major decision to make. The energy of the 1 is a reminder from the universe not to make said decision until after the next new moon. I believe the next new moon will be on the 30th of December, a black new moon, darling dears. This is a potent portal, right, for endings and beginnings, as well as a reckoning with the truth, darling dears. The truth roof, pinkies up. Anything that may have been avoided or people tried to avert or take your eyes off of. We also have the energy of the 2. The 2 speaks about this being an extremely fortunate time for you. You heard the bell, confirmation, okay? It's going to be, as I said, it's fortunate. You're going to be getting good news, all forms of good news. It speaks about any form of travel plans, whether for business or for pleasure, will go fabulous, gorgeous, and lovely. There's also a possibility of a win of money, darling dears. It's about you broadening your horizons, darling dears. The energy of the 2 also covers the high priestess energy, darling dears. Having gone within, best place to be, darling dears. Why? You can do as much overthinking as you want, darling dears, as you sort things out in your cranium. What do you mean, bestie? Good golly and the gosh. According to astrology, the energy of the 1 is about the 1st house. It's Mars and Aries energy. This is a cardinal fire energy, darling dears. Cardinal is because it's the beginning of a season, darling dears. And as I said, something in the early spring is about to unfold for you. Remember I told you that, or it's already unfolding, okay? All right. The cardinal energy tells me that you are extremely creative. This is a fresh start that you are creating for yourself, darling dears. It tells me that you tackled something head on. It took time. You had to learn the dynamics, but you took action, darling dears. Okay? The energy of the one, Mars and Aries energy, tells me about you putting yourself in a leadership position, darling dears. It also speaks about somebody's early environment. It could be yours or your progeny or someone close to you, darling dears. Something's happened within their early environment that's put you into a leadership space, darling dears. If it's something to do with your community, it could be something to do with their schooling, their university, right? I'm getting the feeling of some kind of advocacy has gone on in this situation, darling dears. Energy of the first house also says be on the alert for any form of accidents with possibly a parental grandmother or grandfather, paternal grandfather. Okay, all right. You're in a position, darling dears, where there's a lot of competition around you, but it also speaks about you standing up for thyself. That's what big cats do, darling dears. And remember, never you forget this, bestie. The pen, the email is mightier than the sword. Emails are your friend. Remember, I told you that. This is why you have to learn the art of war when you're sending emails, darling dears, because there's ways that you can cuss out someone. Really dress them down in a polite and professional way, darling dears. I'm telling you, I am the email queen. If you're ever stuck with a problem, darling dears, and you don't know how to answer them in an email, hit me up at frequencyphoenix555@gmail.com. And you're saying, but you're going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it for free because money has to exchange hands, darling dears. But trust and believe. If I tell you that I am the email queen, I don't say it lightly. Why? Because I'm a Capricorn midhaven, darling dears. Capricorn is what? Saturn energy, darling dears. We analyze everything and everything takes time. But it's about discipline, going up against authorities. This is what you've done, darling dears. You're advocating for someone. Or possibly even yourself. The energy of the two, darling dears, is representative of the second house. The second house is the house of what? Skrilla.com, darling dears. That's money. The folding stuff. Yes, baby. It's about your possessions. It's about your physical body as well, darling dears, because it's also about your self-worth, your self-esteem. It's thinking about something in the past. Somebody could also be a government worker of past, darling dears, or you possibly worked within the beauty field, the arts field. But it's about you utilizing some form of talent, darling. There's a hidden talent that you're utilizing at this moment in time. Okay, and this comes with what? Money, darling dears, money. But it also speaks about, because you're possibly advocating for yourself or for someone else, darling dears, you've created a lot of enemies. Why? Because you're exposing things, darling dears, in the best possible way. Especially if it's some kind of, I don't know, a breach, a repercussion, ramifications, darling dears. Especially if you're advocating for yourself or for someone else, darling dears. Money is most definitely attached. Remember, I told you that. We have the energy of the two. On top, we've got the energy of a seven, darling dears. The energy of the seven tells me you are in genius boss mode, darling dears. I love it. I don't hate it. The energy of the seven is also Neptune energy, darling dears. Yeah. So Neptune is also about something that was hidden, darling dear, something that's come into the light. Remember, there's a lot of spiritual energy on this. I can talk about this for the whole read, darling. There's so much intel within these dice. Energy of the 12th house also speaks about you've broken some kind of a habit or pattern. Okay, as I said, you're advocating for yourself or for someone else. It also speaks about a lot of escapism has been used, whether you use drugs, alcohol, food, whatever it is, darling dears. It was all self-deception as well as what? Self-undoing. Remember, I told you that. Some of you may have noticed that your waistline has increased, darling dears, but it's because you've been internalizing these problems. Well, I did tell you, bestie, we've got 2 rules, right? 2 rules that we stick to. The first rule is what? Tell no one nothing. And if you're waiting for the second rule, you missed the first rule. Fist bump. Let's carry on. Let's carry on. The energy of the 12th house also represents hidden things that are hidden. It could be a hidden something within a school, some kind of academy or a university. It could also be within a job situation, darling dears, but a karmic debt is paid. You are a natural born mystic, highly intuitive, darling dears. And what's going on at this moment in time is a necessary loss. Something is being unmasked, put out there, darling dears. Energy of the 12th house, someone or someone's are about to feel extremely ambushed. Yeah, you're going to be like a burglar. Yeah, in their house, darling dears. Whatever you're doing, you've taken it to them. Oi! These impressions are coming so quick and so fast. You've taken something to them, darling dears. You socked it to them. Yeah. Good golly. And gosh, the impression that I'm getting is that you're giving it to them without the Vaseline, darling dears. Good golly and the gosh. I love it. I don't hate it. You are a true gangster, whomsoever you be, darling dears. All right. Okay. Let's press on. Let's press on. Like I said, this decision, energy of the one that you have to make by the next new moon, right? It's a decision that definitely has to make, darling dears. But it also speaks about some information that you have not yet acquired is coming to you. Energy of the two, darling dears. Things being revealed. I told you this is going to be fabulous, gorgeous, and lovely. Okay. The energy of the three, darling dears, as I previously said to you before I got waylaid by more intel, darling dears, the energy of the three is about your health. Okay, maybe it's your health that's going to come into the highlight. Make sure you get your checkups, darling dears, or a family member. But something definitely is going on within your community. All right, you could be a life path 3, darling dears, or the numbers 3, 12, 21 and 30, as well as your lucky numbers of the 3, 6 and 9 come through Tesla with the Intel posh clap is going to be on your hemisphere over the next few days, darling dears. The number 3 is ruled by the frequency of the 8, 5 and 2. Play that at night time, darling dears, while you're in your slumber, so that it can balance you out, darling dears. The energy of the 3, as I said, is Jupiter energy, darling dears. It's also representative of Thursday, even though your luckiest days, lean in bestie, will be Thursday as well as Sunday, darling dears. So something that you've planned on a Sunday is going to drop, darling dears. And as I said, some kind of financial is attached to this because you are advocating for yourself or for someone else. Fabulous, gorgeous, and lovely. All right. The energy of the 3 is the letters C, L, and U. It's ruled by Jupiter, and that's ruled Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius rules the letters C, G, L, and S. Okay, the energy of the 3 is representative of the astrological aspect of a trine, darling dears. And my oh my, do we love a trine, darling dears? When we're getting a trine, we release the pearls. We're not clutching them, darling. No, we're not clutching. We are relaxed. We are stress-free. Remember, I told you that. Why? Because Jupiter is the planet of luck, darling dears, abundance. Jupiter is the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of God, darling dears. Higher spiritual learning, your philosophy, darling dears. You are teaching someone or someone's a lesson. And energy of the 9th house is also what? Higher education, teachers and students. Either you're advocating for yourself or it's for someone else, darling dears. Remember, I told you that. It also speaks about your morals, darling dears. Some kind of ethic that you've got, something that a reedy that you live by. That's fabulous, gorgeous, and lovely, darling dears. I love it. I don't hate it. Something that you've published, because the 9th house Sagittarius energy also represents online, darling dears. I think somebody's been caught in a trap. Maybe you've tripped them up with your emails. Who knows? Something definitely online is going on, darling dears, and the 9th house is associated with abundance. Remember, I told you that, darling dears. Whatever you're doing, darling dears, you are the pilot, meaning, or can I say, yeah, I can say pilot, right? Because you're going into a space where it's not even like you fell into this situation by mistake, darling dears. Things were happening and it's like you connected the dots to a situation. And when you connected the dots to a situation, you got cold and calculating. If you've been sending out emails, darling dears, trust and believe, I can feel the weight of that. They're very heavy and they're tied with the what? Truth roof. Pinkies up, darling dears. Pinkies up. You're about to show people around you that you are a true role model, darling dears. You're coming across like a prophet. Maybe you are the prophet that was not recognized in your own village. Who cares about that, darling dears? The village of the damned, we forgot about that. That's so yesterday's newspaper. Remember I told you that. But travel is going to be extremely well. It speaks about foreign people or foreign lands. Maybe you are planning a trip. Once whatever goes down will go down, Bobby Brown. Remember, I told you finances are most definitely attached to this, darling dears. Okay. All right. Energy of Jupiter, as I said, it's about your opportunities, it's about abundance. We love the trine because the opportunities, it's about you utilizing your natural God-given talents, darling dears. And we're in the energy of Jupiter, the 9th house, the house of God. Remember, I told you that. Yeah. Your communication is locked in, darling dears. Jupiter energy, communicating, darling dears. Love it. Yeah. How you express yourself, it's like poetry in motion, darling dears. People underestimated your gangster, darling dears. More fool them. Why? Because you're a big cat. You take the time to analyze a situation. Why? You spent time going within, darling dears, within. This is about you being able to express yourself in some kind of group, darling dears. It's showing your authenticity, and it's showing that your growth, darling dears. Your growth, that is the key word. The energy of Jupiter, as I said, is about abundance. It's about religion, the house of God, darling dears. Remember, I told you that. You have the right to feel optimistic because the Jupiter, right, the 9th house is the house of luck. With a heavy K, luck. Yeah, that's where we like to be, bestie. This is the good luck house. Remember, I told you that. So something's coming towards you. What aren't you seeing? Good golly and the gosh. We've got the energy of an 8 inside. 8 means you are the CEO of what's going on here. Posh clap, darling dears. Posh clap. Whatever you're doing, posh clap. I loves it. I don't hate it. I loves it. Energy of the 8, the CEO of what's going on here, right? And this is what? Saturn energy. Were we not just talking about Saturn, darling dears? I mentioned it with my midhaven. Listen, I didn't forget. I didn't. Saturn comes in with the letters HQZ, and Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, and the letters P and F. So you've got P, F, HQZ, CGLS, and CLU. Okay, maybe this is where the payout is coming from, darling dears. You'll find their name amongst there. The skullduggerers have got to pay. Good golly and gosh, someone's gonna have to come off the field and go into the barn where their account is. And come back with what? Long money, darling dears. Long money. Somebody's gonna have to pay a price. You showed stamina, darling dears. But somebody's also tied up in some kind of escapism. You need to let that go, darling dears. Divine is going to get in a position where you have no choice. And trust and believe, you don't want to go get put in a position like I was put in a position when I had a stroke, where you've got no choice. It's live or die. What do you want? You choose. Energy of the 8, darling dears. The energy of the 8 tells me that you've mastered something, darling dears. This momentum that you've built, darling dears, it's more than sufficient. But it's something that you came amongst, even though you're possibly advocating for yourself or for someone else, darling dears. You didn't realize the ramifications of what you had. I told you are the email king or queen at this moment in time. Someone is tied up, darling dears. They're tied up. Yeah. Oh, that's what happens with these double-minded person or people, darling dears. James 1:8. Let's press on. Let's press on. The energy of the 3, darling dears, according to the 48 laws of power, it tells you to what? Let others come to you. What's hidden? We have the energy of the 8, darling dears. And what does the energy of the 8 tell you? Oh, sorry, the energy of the 3 is mask your intentions. The energy of the 8, darling dears, is make people come to you according to the 48 laws of power. So you have to what? Keep it stum, darling dears. People are wondering. I told you are a mystery to them. Again, the energy of the 12th house is coming back. This is a karmic debt, darling dears. Whatever they did, darling dears, It had you in your mental illness. Trust and believe, 12th house, darling dears, it had you thunking. And you said to yourself, bestie, you said, my name ain't Tink Tink. My name is Big Cat. They're about to hear you roar. I love it. I don't hate it. All of this bravery, darling dears. It's fabulous. All right. We have a 3 on top, darling dears. I hadn't forgotten. Right? The energy of the 3 is about conflict and confusion, right? Because people see the outcome of where your trajectory is taking you to, darling dears. The outcome is what? They're causing a fight. Somebody wants to argue with you, darling dears. But if you've got it in the email, darling dears, remember I told you, there's not the pen is mightier than the sword. Because when you send an email, darling dears, when it's written in such an eloquent way that dresses them down, they will read it and they'll come back. And when they come back, right, at the 4th and 6th time, darling dears, they'll start breaking it down into sections. And they will read the shade. And the fact you come with what? Consequences and ramifications. Someone is about to be paid. Never the maid. Fist bump. Who this? Hit me up in the Gmail. Ha ha! Let's press on. We've got the energy of the 4. The 4 speaks about a lot of communications, according to the dice, lots of phone calls. Maybe they're going to try and set up some kind of a meeting with you, darling dears. But I think you're going to keep it with the what? Online 9th house. God is telling you, darling dears, keep it with the communication. Because if they were trying to get a meeting with you, don't go to the meeting. You don't have to. There's no obligation, darling dears. You can say in an email that I don't, at this moment in time, because of the level of stress that was caused, I can't come to the meeting. And I can't meet you online virtually either. I want it conducted in email. Why? That creates a paper trail, darling dears, and transparency. Bestie, they can't just pull you about like taffy. Are you kidding me, blood? Bruh. Or Sistrine, how dare they? They dare. But they gonna have to pay. Remember, I told you that, darling dears. So people are gossiping. Let's go with the black cards. So they're gossiping. First card that came up was the Hierophant, darling dears. The Hierophant is the 2nd house, darling dears. The money, they're gonna have to pay you. Something about your traditions, darling dears. How you do things. Somebody messed with your system, darling dears, of how you do things, how you like things done. Emperor energy is Taurus energy, Earth energy, darling dears. Yes, you're going to be put in a position where you're going to be teaching someone on a lesson, darling dears, a spiritual lesson. But it also speaks about you going up against some form of institution. Let me tell you something. Bestie, do you realize you are playing chess? Not checkers, darling dears. And what they always forget is to protect the queen. Well, it looks like you're doing a good job by yourself. Everyone else can come off the board. Good golly and the gosh. Underneath that, we've got the devil, darling dears. We have God and the devil. The devil speaks about codependency, darling dears, being stuck in a situation, repeating things over and over. And it can also represent what? The bureaucracy that you went up against, darling dears. They tried to keep you stuck. But you've been put in a position where they have to pay attention to your wants and not your needs. And you wants for everything, darling dears. They have to pay some kind of repercussion, darling dears. Good golly and the gosh. And out of that, you've created a hater or haters. Oh, listen, bestie, oi. Someone is balanced and about to fall onto the rocks of life, darling dears. These hater or haters, they hate your name, darling dears. They hate your eyelashes. Why? Because they're attached to you. We've also got what? The sacral chakra. Good golly and the gosh. The sacral chakra is about your emotions, darling dears. Your relationships. Either you're advocating for yourself or for someone else. This is most definitely about your self-worth. Again, 2nd house energy, darling dears. It's also going to be an extremely passionate time. The energy of the 4. According to the dice, darling dears, it could also speak about you're going to be making a major decision in the not too distant future, and it could also represent a love affair coming into your life, darling. There's someone or something that's going to have a profound effect on your life. Good golly and the gosh. Sacral chakra is about relationship energy. It could be the relationship from a relationship between a male and female, female, male. Whatever your situation, shizna is, it is what it is, darling dears. Play the number 417 on the frequency along with the 852 at nighttime, darling dears. Okay, to get yourself on the good foot. This is the sacral chakra, darling dears. We love it. We don't hate it. It's moon energy. 417, darling dears. Moon is what? High priestess energy, darling dears. Where all the answers came to you. It's like a light went on and you realized the pattern in the situation, darling dears. And you've got hard evidence to back up everything you say. You said what you said in my Nene Leaks voice. What's on the base of the deck? Temperance energy, darling dears. This is your ancestral team coming in, darling dears. Why? Because you have a foot in both worlds. It says that you was on a difficult path, and that path was what? Fogged in, darling dears. You didn't see the pattern until you did. Remember, I told you that. The energy of temperance, as I said, it's about healing, darling dears. It also speaks about the level of patience that you had to what? Enact in a situation. Temperance is oh good golly and the gosh, is to do with your hips, your thigh and your liver. Someone needs to get a checkup, darling dears. Okay, the energy of temperance is from the 22nd of November till the 21st of December. Okay, Sagittarian energy, darling dears. It speaks about what? Long-term finances, darling dears. It also speaks about your time management. Somebody's admiring you, darling dears, a secret admirer. Listen, you better make sure that it's not a lurking stalker. Make sure that they don't carry duct tape and chloroform. You check up on everything, darling dears. You're a big cat. You get their birth natal chart. You find out with the Chinese zodiac, are they your animal sign? Good golly and the gosh, we've got too much at our fingertips to be tricked or bamboozled, especially at this stage of whatever game you are playing, darling dears, because you are playing it well. You are getting the what? The chef's kiss. Mwah! Love it. I don't hate it. Being protected, darling dears. Being protected. It's also a reminder what? To keep your composure in a situation, right? You're going with the flow, darling dears, but you are in the flow. Something that was unnatural, right, was being fostered or forced onto you or someone that you're advocating for. Yeah. Less is more. You've got them by the short and curlies, darling dears. Whatever the short and curlies are, look what's underneath that. No way out. What did I just say? They might prepare you. They might prepare you. Compensation, some kind of restitution, darling dears. You've got them. You've got them. You in genius mode, darling dears. Your mind is an analytical tool, darling dears, that you've utilized to your best advantage. Remember, I told you that. Good golly and the gosh. What does your ancestors have to say about the situation? I'm gonna use a deck I haven't used in a while. I'm gonna go with the fairies. Why not? Yeah, whoever did this, darling dears, you developed drapetomania, the urge to run away like Tinky Winky. This is why you got to give them Easter Island and Stevie Wonder. Only pop your head up to send another email and then go back into deep cover. Not that you're avoiding anyone, darling dears. Remember, law number 3 of the 48 laws of power, mask your intentions. What's this? Yeah, inspiration. You were inspired. I told you you went within. Be prepared, as you'll soon receive a visit from the fairy of inspiration. Come dusk or dawn, she can call or anytime, darling. She can call at any time. Good golly and the gosh, darling dears, nearly forgot how to read. Listen, you're being inspired at this moment in time. You are standing up for someone or something, and it's working. Hidden depths. These are their talents, darling dears. They didn't know that you was talented. They didn't know that you was the baddest of them all. They didn't know that you was the prototype. Well, they're gonna learn. They're gonna learn today, darling dears. They're gonna learn today. Base of the deck, darling dears. Yeah, precious time. They wasted a lot of time, darling dears. Or something's moved ahead very quickly. Something's moved with rocket-like speed. Remember, I told you that. The fairy of time wants you to experience every moment fully and to make the most of your precious time. Be mindful not to waste others' time either. You ain't wasting your time. You put across a solid case, darling dears. Somebody may try to waste your time, maybe wanting you to fill out unnecessary forms, but they didn't know that you had it down locked, darling dears. You possibly got everything filed away, cross-referenced, darling dears, so you can go straight to the what? Intel. Remember, I told you that. You're on it, right? Look. Your ancestral team, darling dears. What did I just say? You are being covered by the Most High. They didn't know your ranking. That's their business. They're about to find out. They're about to find out. In living color. Let's get a deck that I have not used in a while. Okay. I'm saying all of the decks are looking at me going, pick me, pick me. I'm going to go over a Rider-Waite deck. How about that? Base of the deck, you are managing everything gracefully or gratefully, darling dears. Energy of the Two of Pentacles in the upright. Yes, you still need to check up on your health, but go and have a checkup anyway. When we see the Two of Pentacles, darling dears, the Two of Pentacles in the upright, I might add, it speaks about you possibly single by choice, darling dears. Yeah, you managed your time very well. You're going to go to a new level of stability. Remember, I told you that. Okay, you may have felt like you was juggling or drowning in this situation, but it wasn't. Sometimes when you have to step outside the picture to see what's really going on within the picture frame. Yeah, love it. You've been able to what? Balance all of your responsibilities, darling dears. Yeah. This card is also suggesting that you have the ability to handle any of your commitments, right? Because why? The object of this card is about the adaptability, darling dears. The adaptability when you was creating, tackling these things head on, when you took the action in a situation. I just heard two, got to give it two shufties, darling dears. Fell off the back end. Barely had a chance. Right? What did I say? Some kind of message is coming in, darling. There's something that's going to ease your mind. The Knight of Swords is most definitely a messenger, darling. There's one which we love. Something is coming in very, very quickly. The Knight of Swords is air energy, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, darling dears. It also speaks about hasty action. Somebody took some kind of a hasty action, darling dears, and now they've got to pay. Why? You possibly what, dove in on something someone else did. Something went down online, darling dears, right? Yes, they're very disappointed with themselves. Somebody took action. It possibly an email, something online, could have been a meeting that they wanted you to come to, but you didn't go. Judgment, they're getting karma for it, darling dears. Somebody's getting it under the cosh, darling dears. They're getting a virtue, was it a spiritual kick in their nutsack. Good golly, and the gosh, darling dears, and the gosh. This is someone that took you to your stress threshold, eh? Yeah, they're about to lose big time, money-wise. What did I just say, darling dears? Four of Pentacles. Underneath the swords. However you answered that situation, darling dears, they're going to lose big in this situation. We've got 2 fours on the tableau, darling dears. They've got a very shaky foundation. Their foundation looks like shiznai wrapped in used toilet paper, darling dears, on quicksand as lightning is about to strike, darling dears. Yeah, base of the deck, they did something, darling dears. They thought they had one up on you. They thought they won you. Some kind of message was sent out, darling dears. They thought they won. Yes, yes, yes. You may even have second guessed yourself in this situation. 7 of Swords, darling dears. All right. You may have second guessed yourself in a situation, but they was on shaky grounds from the beginning. We've got Lover's energy, darling dears, Gemini energy, Magician energy. Yeah, you hold all the tools. Communication is on point. They're going to have to make a contract with you, darling dears. They're going to come back with a quiet apology. They don't want it to be loud. They better be loud, darling dears. Whatever they done did, they better be loud. Magician energy, Mercury energy again, darling dears. Good golly and the gosh. In a sandwich, you're not going to be able to stand up to the situation. Yeah, somebody tried to give shade in a situation, but they still got to pay you. They have to pay. They have to pay. They got to pay you, right? They got to pay. Two knights on the tableau, darling dear, speaks about the disagreements. They're arguing about the money. What are they saying about the money? They don't want to give you no money, darling dears. Yeah, but the situation will remain unhealed, especially if you're going up against an institution of some sort, darling dears. King of Cups, this is telling you to hold your gangster, darling dears. Don't fly off with any emails. Just hold your gangster. It looks like you are running the chessboard, and it's about to be checkmate. Heavy on the check. Yeah, devil energy, darling dears. Yeah, they don't want to pay you, darling dears. They're not going to want to pay you. They're going to try and fight tooth and nail, but they don't have a leg to stand on. Right next to the magician, I think not, Scotty. You're going to be hearing good news before you can say what's going on. Whatever they try to come with, darling dears, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Remember, I told you they'll be on the rocks of life. They tried to hold off from paying you, but they got to pay you. I told you, look. They got to pay you, look. Because of the diligent work. You was tenacious, darling dears. You hung in there. Remember, I told you that. You was extremely tenacious. They have to pay you. They got to pay you. What do you mean? Good golly and the gosh. Give you another shufti. Look at this. High Priestess energy. They gotta pay you. You went within, darling dears. This is Boaz and Jashim for completion and beginning, darling dears. A fresh start in a situation. You could be a female. The High Priestess generally represents female, but you know, gender is fluid in the cards. You could be a High Priest, darling dears. Okay? But you stood up in a situation, darling dears. High Priestess, Moon energy. You came with the intel. Yeah. All of the this and the that. All of the this and the that, darling dears. Good golly and gosh. And look what turned over as well. The Knight of Pentacles. They've got to pay you. Could also represent a major public apology that they have to give as well. They've got to, right? Because whatever they did it didn't work, darling dears. They're trying to find out information about you online. Yeah. World card. They're trying to find some information, gather some intel on you. You who's the High Priest or Priestess, good golly and gosh, you're invisible online. You don't have a footprint. What's the matter with them? Yeah. Because the High Priestess also speaks about them trying to find hidden knowledge, darling dear, secret things, trying to dig things up, but they can't find nothing. All they can see is the check, heavy on the check, and the mate, darling dears. They have to supply to you. Yeah, they've looked online to find out about you, darling dears. They did, and they're not successful. How disheartening for them, darling dears. Lots of anxiety. There's also finger pointing going on at this moment in time. Somebody's foolish actions, darling dears. Yes, lots of frustration being bandied around. Dissatisfaction, darling dears. Somebody, they want to tie up the loose end, darling dears, and move on from the situation quickly. I can't make this up, darling. They want to move on from the situation. They gotta pay you. They must pay you. I told you. Right about now, you're running things. It's about your wants and not your needs. Remember, I told you that. Two of Swords, it was a difficult situation. Right behind that is the Wheel of Fortune, darling dears. Right? That's a 10. This is a 10 as well, darling dears. 10, 10. That's binary source code, darling dears. You're on the right track. The universe has your back, darling dears. You've got the Hierophant, right? And the King of Wands. Futuristic thinking, darling dears. Your plans were fire. Whatever you sent them, darling dears, they must pay you. 5 of Pentacles. You're going to get paid. Never the maid. Systemic change, darling dears. You are a warrior, and I give you your flowers. They're gonna understand that you pea glitter, shit cupcakes, and fart rainbows. How dare they? They dare. They dare, darling dears. They did not expect or anticipate that you would be obstreperous, darling dears, noisy and difficult to handle via the email. Ha ha! I love it. This is poetry in motion, darling dears. Poetry in motion. Yeah. Guess who's gonna get it without Vaseline? Not the big cat, darling dears. Oh, how now, brown cow? How? Let's get a final card and then we're out of here. To get great. Base of the deck. This is the mature card, darling dears. It's also one of my Father God cards. Okay. This is also telling me about learnedness. The energy of the 5 is conflict and confusion, but it also brings that change, darling dears. Somebody's about to take a world trip, one that is being divinely guided. Lots of enlightenment being bestowed on you, High Priestess energy, because you went within, darling dears. You saw a pattern. And your time is no longer being wasted. You utilized it to your best advantage. Love it. I don't hate it. Bravo, bestie. Bravo. Posh. Clap. Yeah, your work is about to pay off. The 3 and a 7 genius mode, darling dears. It's about to be over. Energy of the 19, darling dears. Yeah. Whatever you're doing, bestie, this is gonna go down as legendary. Remember I told you that? You've secured your future with this, darling dears. Stable home life. Split the deck. They got the message loud and clear, darling dears. Yeah, keep your expectations up. The energy of the 2 and the 8 is the number of wealth, darling dears. Energy of the 8 is money, but 2 and 8, that's wealth, darling dears. That window has been opened for you. On that note, I drops me mic. Toddle over to my Teesprings, my Patreon, or my TikToks, where I also upload videos. If you'd like to get a tarot reading or your charts done, hit me up in the Gmail at 1bigcatchronicles@gmail.com. One word, 1bigcatchronicles@gmail.com. And I shall furnish you with whatever it is you're trying to get at. On that note, I drops me mic. And as I always say, don't get smoked. And don't smoke yourself. From the ashes, baby. Namaste. Big cat wave. Until we meet again on these tarot streets. Cat. You're about to win more than you can anticipate, darling dears. This is your season, and you come with receipts. Cat.